Good evening,
Good evening,
sir.
sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So basically, we were discussing the good evening, beta. We were discussing the general properties of the nuclei, and next property is the statistical behavior exhibited by different type of nuclei. Statistical behavior that is exhibited by the nuclei. So what is the meaning of statistical behavior? If we collect large number of particles or we choose a group of particles or group of nuclei. Suppose we have a group of particles, for example, there are many number of nucleons inside the nuclei. So this is a group of particles. Okay? When we have this group of particles and all these particles are indistinguishable, and all these particles are indistinguishable, then a new type of quantum effects comes into the picture. So if we have a group of quantum particles which are indistinguishable from each other, then a new type of quantum behavior comes into the picture, which is exhibited by this group of particles. Okay? For this, let us consider a group of two particles. Suppose I have two particles, one is denoted by 1 and another is 2, is the second, and they are indistinguishable. They are indistinguishable particles. They are indistinguishable particles. And position vector of this first is suppose R1 and position vector for second is R2. Then wave function associated with this one, it can be written as psi1 R1, and wave function associated with the second particle can be written as psi2 R2. Now if these particles interact, if this particle 1 interacts with the second particle, then combined wave function of this two nucleon system or two particle system, I can write the combined system as Q12, and this will be equal to psi1 R1 multiplied by psi2 R2. This will be the combined wave function for this system of two indistinguishable particles 1 and 2. So I can write this in this way, this combined wave function. Now if we interchange the particle, then what will happen? If we interchange the particle, then we will have, this will, suppose this is a psi1 2, so this will become psi2 1. I interchange the particle. Then what will be the combined wave function? This will be psi2 here. This will be suppose R1. This is psi1. This is R2. I will have this type of wave function. Okay? I will have this type of wave function. If you consider the case of probability in these two cases, here we have two cases where we are considering in first that particle 1 is interacting with second particle. Here I can say that second particle is interacting with the first particle. But if you calculate the probability, so corresponding to the first, probability will be psi1 2 square, and according to this, the probability of the combined system will be psi2 1. If you talk in terms of probability, then you will find out that they comes out to be equal. So if with the help of these two wave functions I calculate, the probability, then this probability density will be same for this and this, probability density will be same. Because why this will be equal? Why this will be equal? Because there is no way to distinguish between 1 and 2. Probability comes out to be same because we don't have any means by which we can distinguish between 1 and 2. They are indistinguishable particles. We cannot distinguish. We cannot make any distinguishment between them. We cannot. We can point out, okay, this is 1 and this is 2. We are writing here 1 and 2 for our understanding, point of understanding. Rather, they both are indistinguishable particles because we cannot distinguish between these two. So, due to this reason, their probability density will be same. Their probability density will be same. And these wave functions and probability density will be same, but these wave functions can be correlated with each other. These wave functions can be correlated with each other only in two ways. Either 1, 2 is equal to plus psi 2, 1, or second wave will be 1, 2 can be minus psi 2, 1. So this is the only way in which these wave functions are correlated with each other. These wave functions are correlated with each other. About these properties, you will also study in your quantum mechanics course, where your teacher will discuss with you identical particles. So you will be more clear about that. I am not going in depth, but whatever is necessary here, I am basically discussing with you only that part. So here, these psi functions, they can be correlated in this form.
So what is R1 and R2?
R1 is basically, R1 is the position vector. R1 is the position vector for the basically associated with the particle 1. And psi 2 is the position vector that is associated with the second particle. ठीक है? जैसे coordinates होते हैं, ऐसे हमने we have written this as a position vector. We have written this as position vector.
Okay, sir.
Now,
Sir, any example of indistinguishable particle?
आपका न्यूक्लियन ही है. Inside the nuclei we have nucleons. They behave as indistinguishable particles.
तो सर प्रोटॉन और न्यूट्रॉन को डिस्टिंग्विश नहीं कर सकते सर?
किसे?
प्रोटॉन और न्यूट्रॉन को?
नहीं, प्रोटॉन और प्रोटॉन को तो कर सकते हो बेटा, लेकिन अगर आपके पास 6 प्रोटॉन है, you cannot distinguish. If you have an assembly of protons or you have assembly of neutrons, you cannot distinguish them.
Okay, sir.
ठीक है. So basically, if wave function is behaving in this way, there is positive sign here, then this type of wave function is known as symmetric wave function. This is known as symmetric wave function. This will be symmetric wave function. If sign changes, means negative sign is here, this is known as, क्या बोलते हैं बेटा इसे? Antisymmetric wave function. This is known as antisymmetric wave function. This is known as symmetric as well as antisymmetric wave function. All particles which lie in this range, all particles which have this type of, all group of particle systems which exhibit this type of wave function. Suppose we have a group of particles, and the combined wave function for those particles, for those nuclear state in our case, is suppose behaving in this way. If they are symmetric, they are representing symmetric wave function, then these particles, all these particles, they are known as bosons. Then all those particles are known as bosons. And group of particles whose combined wave function is antisymmetric, all those particles are known as fermions. All those are known as fermions. ठीक है? All those are known as fermions. So basically, in this way, these bosons and fermions are defined. So basically, bosons are those particles where the system, the wave function for the system of particles is symmetrical in nature, while fermions are the particles where wave function of the system is antisymmetric in nature. So they are known as bosons and fermions. Bosons, without any exception, these bosons have spins. They have spin like 0, 1, 2, 3. They have integer spin. Bosons have integer spin. While these fermions, all these fermions, they have half integer spin like 1 by 2, 3 by 2, 5 by 2, like this. Okay. This is the main property of fermion. For example, electron, proton, neutrons, they are all fermions. Electrons, protons, neutrons, they are examples of fermions. Their spin is half. Another important property of these fermions is they follow Pauli's exclusive principle. They follow Pauli's exclusion principle.
So
While
any
these
example of bosons?
Bosons का बेटा सबसे simple example है आपका photons. Photons are the examples of bosons. Pi meson is another example. K meson is another example. So there are a lot of examples. I will write down the examples also. So there are many examples of bosons and fermions. So here, these fermions follow Pauli's exclusion principle. It means in one state there will be one particle. In one state there will be one particle, or for all the four quantum numbers associated with the particle cannot be seen. So due to this reason, in one state one particle will be there. Here more than one particles can be present in a particular state. Here these bosons, they do not follow Pauli's exclusion principle. Pauli's exclusion principle.
सर आपने बताया कि फर्मियोन्स में वन स्टेट में वन पार्टिकल रहता है। आई मीन जैसे स्पिन हाफ है सर, तो 1/2 और प्लस
तो बेटा अलग अलग हो गए ना। हाँ, तो वो अलग अलग हो गए, दो स्टेट हो गई, एक स्पिन अप स्टेट, एक स्पिन डाउन स्टेट।
बट सर है तो एक ही स्टेट में शायद
नहीं, एक ही स्टेट के दो फॉर्म है बेटा। अगर आप उनके चारों क्वांटम नंबर देखो तो चारों क्वांटम नंबर मैच नहीं करते हैं, ठीक है। तो एक स्टेट में दो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स कैन बी प्रेजेंट हो सकते हैं, बट देयर स्पिन विल बी डिफरेंट, ठीक है। लेकिन उनकी स्पिन जो होगी बेटा वो अलग होगी। तो उनके जो चारों क्वांटम नंबर आप अटैच करते हो, दे विल नॉट बी सेम। सो दिस इज अनदर प्रॉपर्टी। Another property of fermions is that they have antisymmetric wave function. They have this type of wave function. These bosons have antisymmetric wave function. Now write down the examples. First write down the examples of fermions. So here I am writing the examples of fermions. You are aware about these: electron, positron, proton, neutron, mu meson, ये तो ठीक है। and nuclei. Important is and nuclei with odd A number. जो odd A number की nuclei हैं, the nuclei with odd A number. That is important. Here important is basically I am discussing this for this part. Nuclei with odd number, they are fermions. Nuclei with odd number, then you will find out that for if A number is odd, I have already discussed, if A number is odd, then you will find out that angular momentum spin associated with that nuclei, it will be half integer. It will be half integer. Its angular spin will be 1/2, 3/2, 5/2. Because in case of odd nuclei, you will have at least one unpaired nucleon. Because in this case, you will have at least one unpaired nucleon. So if there is one unpaired nucleon, then automatically its spin angular momentum will be 1/2, 3/2, 5/2. बेटा ये किसका माइक ऑन है? ये बंद करो बेटा कि जिसका भी माइक ऑन है, ठीक है? So basically all these nuclei with odd A number, they are fermions. They are fermions because if A number is odd, and what is A? Number of proton plus number of neutron. So out of these two, one will be odd. There are two possibilities, odd even or even odd. This is the possibility. This is the possibility. Odd even nuclei or even odd nuclei. Here in first case, they are all paired up. Here one will be unpaired, and here this one will be unpaired. So due to that unpaired nucleon, spin will be equal to either half, 3/2, 5/2. These are the higher states. So spin will be like this. So all nuclei with odd A number, they behave as fermions. If you have an assembly of nuclei with odd A number, then they will behave as fermions, and they follow. And all these fermions, they follow Fermi-Dirac statistics. They follow कौन सी statistics follow करते हैं बेटा? ये they follow Fermi-Dirac statistics. They follow Fermi-Dirac statistics. While these bosons, examples of the boson. Now I will write down the examples of bosons. Now write down the examples of bosons.
सर बहुत क्लियर नहीं है.
क्लियर होगा बेटा. Now bosons. Bosons कौन कौन से होते हैं बेटा? Pi mesons, K mesons. Examples: pi meson, K mesons, pi mesons, K mesons, and nuclei with even A number, and nuclei and photon will be here. And nuclei with odd A number.
सर even.
हाँ sorry, even odd तो हो गया बेटा, sorry, good. With even A number, ठीक है? With even A. So all these are the examples. All these are the examples of bosons. For example, जैसे हम बेटा 1H यहाँ पे ले लो आप कोई सा भी 1D2 deuterium 2He4 is the example for कोई any 8 or 16 S32. Only you have to check this A number here, this A number. If this A number is even, then the group of this type of nuclei, they will be bosons. They will behave like boson, and what they will follow? they will follow Bose-Einstein statistics. Bose-Einstein statistics.
सर थोड़ा सा फोटोन के बारे में बता दीजिए.
फोटोन के बारे में क्या बताना है बेटा? फोटोन तो बहुत बड़ी चीज है, क्या बताऊं बताओ फोटोन के बारे में. फोटोन इज ए मासलेस पार्टिकल. ठीक है, फोटोन इज अ मासलेस पार्टिकल and basically this is a intermediate particle for electromagnetic type of interaction. One charge and second charge, when they are interacting with each other, this is the exchange particle. Exchange of photons takes place in between these. Its energy is h nu. Its energy is h nu और momentum कितना होता है?
सर एक्सचेंज का मीनिंग एक्सचेंज बताया ना सर, वो क्या होता है सर, समझ में नहीं. एक्सचेंज
बेटा वो आपके देखो मेरे कोर्स से बियॉन्ड है वो. If there are two charge particle Q1 and Q2, in between when they are interacting through Coulomb interaction, then they are exchanging with each other this photon h nu.
So we can have personal doubts later because everyone else is also here.
Bilkul. Don't worry. I'm not taking anyone's personal interest here. ठीक है. So these are bosons and fermions. ठीक है, you should be very clear about this. So this is the statistics regarding nuclei. This is all information that is needed regarding statistical behavior of nuclei. So there are two types of nuclei, either with odd A number or even A number. Odd A number nuclei, they behave as fermions, they follow Fermi-Dirac statistics, while the nuclei with even A number, they are bosons and they follow Bose-Einstein statistics. Next is binding energy. Another and the last property. This is the last property I'm going to discuss in this chapter. That is binding energy, and this is very important, not only from nuclear physics point of view, but from your exam point of view also. Next is binding energy. Binding energy. So most of the mass spectrometers, when you are using a mass spectrometer and you are finding the mass of the nuclei, then we never get mass of nuclei. Rather, whenever we are using a mass spectrometer, this will provide us the mass of the atom. Whenever we are using a mass spectrometer to find out the mass of the nuclei, actually it provides us the mass of the atom. So what will be mass of nuclei? If they are providing us mass of the atom, then what will be the mass of nuclei? Mass of nuclei will be equal to mass of the atom MAZ minus ZME. This ZME. So with the help of mass spectrometer, we are getting this. If we will subtract minus ZME, that we will get this mass of the nuclei. But this will not provide us. But this expression is not correct. This doesn't provide us the correct value of the mass of the nuclei. This doesn't provide us the correct mass of the nuclei. So if you consider in another way, then mass of the nuclei, suppose I'm choosing a nuclei like ZXA. If again I want to represent the mass of the nuclei, I can also represent in this way. Z times Z is the number of neutrons. So this is Z times Mn, mass of one neutron into Z, plus A minus Z.
Sir, the board is not clear.
Okay, abhi theek karta hu. This is mass of neutron, this is mass of proton. 1 minute please. Now it is correct. So mass of the nuclei should be equal to, so basically I can write this mass of the nuclei in two ways. First expression, mass of the atom minus Z number of electrons जो हैं इस atom में अगर मैं उसे minus कर दूं, then I will get the mass of the nuclei. Another simple way to think about it is that mass of the nuclei will be equal to the sum of the masses of its constituent particles. Nuclei is made up of two types of particles, proton and neutron. So if I take the sum of the total protons and total neutrons and make a sum of them, then this should provide me the mass of the nuclei. But both of these expressions gives me wrong result. They don't give us correct value of a nuclei, mass of the nuclei, which can be obtained, which can be calculated with the help of some experimental phenomenon. Whatever we find out, whatever experimental value of the mass of the nuclei we find out with the help of calculations of different experiments, that was different from these two formulas. So these formulas are not correct. These formulas are not correct. So they start thinking, what is the meaning? Why this mass difference is coming into the picture? Why the difference in mass is coming into the picture? They start thinking. And then they think that if you have a nuclei, if I have a nuclei, suppose, and in this nuclei there are few protons and few neutrons are there inside this nuclei. And if I want to remove one of the nucleons, either I want to remove proton or I want to remove neutron, then I have to provide some external energy from the outside. Then what I have to do, I have to provide nearly few MeV of energy from outside. It means this, what is the meaning of this? We are providing some external energy to remove one of the protons or one of the neutrons from this nuclei. The meaning of this is that this proton or neutron, this is binded, this is bound with this nuclei. The proton or neutron to which we want to remove from the nuclei, that is bound to the nuclei. Due to this reason, we are providing some external energy. Now I want to remove the second nucleon, again I will provide some energy. I want to remove third nucleon, I will again provide the energy. So if I want to convert this nuclei, or I want to change this nuclei into its constituent particles, I want that all of its constituent particles become separated from each other. I want to break this nuclei into constituent particles. Then from outside, I have to provide some energy. And whatever energy is provided by us to break this nuclei into constituent particles, that is known as binding energy. That is known as binding energy. This is one way of thinking. ये हम एक तरीके से सोच रहे हैं, इसका उल्टा भी सोच लेते हैं. अभी जो प्रोसेस हमने डिस्कस किया, नाउ वी थिंक इन द अपोजिट वे. What was our thinking? Suppose we want to break this nuclei into constituent particles, then we have to provide energy from outside, because these protons and neutrons, they are bounded together. Now think a reverse process. Suppose these constituent particles of the nuclei, they are very far away from each other. They are very far away from each other. Now we are bringing these particles towards each other and we are creating nuclei. Now we are creating nuclei with the help of these constituent particles, then surely some energy will be released. Then surely there will be some energy released. That will be the binding energy. Whatever energy we have provided in earlier case, same amount of energy will be released now. Same amount of energy will be released now. And this energy is binding energy. So in this way also, when you are creating a nuclei with the help of constituent particles, then some of the energy will be released. That energy is also binding energy. In two ways, we have get the value of binding energy, and both binding energy will be same. Now question arises, what is the source of this energy? So when nuclei is formed from constituent particles, and energy is released from the nuclei, only then it will be in the bound state. Only then it will be in the bound state. So what is the source of this energy that is released, due to which this nuclei is in the bound state? So here Einstein formula E is equal to mc square comes into the picture, or for the rescue. So here the energy mass relation E equal to mc square formula given by Einstein, that comes into the picture. So now people explain in the way that when a nuclei is created with the help of the constituent particles, by combining these constituent particles, then a small mass, very, very small mass of these constituent particles is converted into energy. Or you can say, out of the total mass of this constituent particle, a very small mass, very, very small mass is converted into energy. So this mass is lost, this very small mass is lost. Whatever mass is lost here, that is known as mass defect. That is known as mass defect. So here, that mass defect will be here. So we have to subtract a very small mass from the mass of these constituent particles. This is known as mass defect. What happens to this mass? This mass will convert into energy, and that energy E will be delta m c square. And this, if I write it as delta E, then this delta E, this is known as binding energy. This is known as binding energy. And due to this lost mass or mass defect, mass of the nuclei is always smaller than, mass of this nuclei is always smaller than the mass of the constituent particle. And what is the difference between them? The difference is equal to mass defect. This delta m, lost mass. This is known as mass defect and binding energy. This is known as mass defect and binding energy. ठीक है बेटा? So this will be the binding energy. Now, with this binding energy, there is one very important thing. With this binding energy, there is one very important thing. So what I was saying, that when the nuclei is formed, some energy is released. So when some energy is released, it means this delta E, or suppose this is binding energy, then this binding energy is positive, is greater than 0. It means this binding energy is greater than 0. It means when the nuclei is formed, energy is released. When energy is released, that will be positive. That is the exothermic reaction. When energy is released, this will be delta E, this will be positive. As a result, this binding energy is greater than 0. And whenever binding energy is positive, then that nuclei will be stable. Why this nuclei will be stable? Because during the formation of the nuclei, this much amount, this binding energy, this much amount of energy is released. So because this is released, I am writing this greater than 0. So When this much amount is released, then nuclei will automatically be stable, because now if I want to break this nuclei, then whatever energy is released, so much amount of energy I have to provide to the nuclei. So when energy is released, binding energy is positive. It means if I want to break that nuclei, then I have to provide that nuclei some energy. That energy will be equal to binding energy. तो अगर मैं उस न्यूक्लियाई को बाइंडिंग एनर्जी के बराबर एनर्जी प्रोवाइड कराऊं, तब वो न्यूक्लियाई ब्रेक हो सकता है. So this nuclei is in the stable state because I have to provide some external energy to break it. So this is a stable nuclei. This is a stable nuclei. But there are the nuclei. You will find out the nuclei where binding energy becomes less than 0. Where binding energy becomes less than 0. What is the meaning of binding energy less than 0? It means if I am saying binding energy is less than 0, then what will be the meaning? Meaning of this, that mass of the nuclei. Whenever I am saying this, what is the meaning of this? Meaning of this will be that the mass of nuclei is greater than ZMP plus A minus ZMN. It means mass of the nuclei is greater than the mass of its constituent particles. What is the meaning of this? Meaning of this is that this nuclei is in excited state. Because mass of the nuclei should be less than mass of the constituent particle, but suppose the mass of some nuclei is greater than the mass of the constituent particle, it means that nuclei is having some extra mass, or you can say that nuclei is having some extra energy. And when the nuclei is having extra energy, that nuclei will be in the excited state. When a nuclei is in excited state, it will always try to come to the ground state. Whenever you have a nuclei in the excited state, it will always try to come to the ground state by using various decay mechanisms like alpha decay, beta decay, gamma decay. You can use different mechanisms, but by using these mechanisms, this will try to come to the ground state. So basically, when binding energy is less than 0, then nuclei will be unstable. Nuclei will be unstable. This will be the case. ठीक है बेटा? So when binding energy is greater than 0, when binding energy is greater than 0, then, or positive rather, you can say, when binding energy is positive, nuclei will be stable, and when binding energy is less than 0, this nuclei will be unstable. ठीक है? So this is a general definition. बहुत इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं मिलती, बस इतना पता चलता है कि ये न्यूक्लियाई स्टेबल है, ये अनस्टेबल. Suppose I have a large number of nuclei now. Suppose I have 5-6 nuclei, and I want to compare their stability. Which one is more stable? Which one is less stable? So if I want to make a comparative study of stability, if I want to make a comparative study of stability of a sample of nuclei, then how will I do this? यहाँ तो मुझे सिर्फ इतना पता चला कि अगर बाइंडिंग एनर्जी पॉजिटिव है then this is stable, बाइंडिंग एनर्जी नेगेटिव है this is unstable. अब मुझे न्यूक्लियाइज को कंपेयर करना है कि which one is more stable, which one is less stable. So for this basically for this comparing, then for this comparing we need some term with the help of which, or in term of which, we can do this comparison. We need a new term which helps us to compare. because you can say कि जिसमें बाइंडिंग एनर्जी ज्यादा निकलेगा वो जिसमें बाइंडिंग एनर्जी ज्यादा निकलेगा वो ज्यादा स्टेबल होगा, जिसमें बाइंडिंग एनर्जी कम होगा, कम पॉजिटिव होगा, this will be less stable. No, this cannot be done. Comparison cannot be done in this way. Why it cannot be done in this way? Because these nuclei, they are not same. Their A number is same. Suppose for one nuclei A is equal to 10, for another nuclei A is 100. How can you compare these two things? You can compare in between similar things, but here no similarity is there. Similarity is not present. Same type की चीजों में आप compare कर सकते हैं. If there are number of students in the class, you can compare their heights because all these students are in the same class. ठीक है? So we need a parameter. We need a parameter on the basis of which I can make a comparison. So for this, a term was designed or devised that is known as binding energy per nucleon. So whatever the nuclei, either this A is 10 or A is 200, doesn't matter. What I am calculating binding energy associated with a single nucleon. That is known as binding energy per nucleon. So if for a nuclei, suppose this is the binding energy, and if I divide this binding energy, this is a total binding energy of a nuclei. If I divide this by A number of this nuclei, then this is known as binding energy per nucleon. Binding energy per nucleon, and this gives us very good information about the stability of different nuclei. This provides us very comparative values regarding the stability of the nuclei. ठीक है? So for what we will do, we have large number of nuclei. First we will calculate their binding energy per nucleon. We will calculate binding energy per nucleon for each and every nuclei, and then we will plot binding energy per nucleon versus A. Then we will plot binding energy per nucleon as a function of A. That plot will be like this. If I draw that plot, that plot will be something like this. Here we have A number, mass number, and on this side we have binding energy per nucleon on the y-axis. Okay, and the plot will be like this, something like this. Here it will be like this. 2 or 3 spikes will be there. I am drawing a very rough type of diagram, so don't worry. Exact number per, and it will move. It will have a slope in the downward direction. Here this is A number, and if I draw 8 MeV here, this is 8 MeV, unit is MeV here on this axis, then you will find out this type of thing. Here this nuclei is roughly, this will be 30, and here this will be somewhere 140, and this peak is corresponding to 56. This here, this is Fe56. You will find out that the binding energy is maximum. You can find out that binding energy per nucleon is maximum for Fe. You will have this type of plot. Or this can be 140 or 160. Exact number मुझे exactly याद नहीं है. This number is somewhere 160 शायद. This is 160, nearly 160 roughly. We are not interested exactly in this number, but this is a broad peak. This is a broad peak. So this type of plot is observed. So what was the important observations here? What were the important observations here? Important observations were here that on the lower side of this A, on this lower side of A, we have these peaks. We have 3 peaks. These peaks are corresponding to 3 elements. These peaks are corresponding to 3 elements. One is 2He4, second is 6C12, and next is 8O16. These 3 peaks are for these. So what is the meaning of these peaks? The meaning of peaks is that for these nuclei, for these 3 nuclei, binding energy is relatively higher as compared to the average value in nearby nuclei. Whatever is the average value for nearby nuclei, their binding energy is higher than that. Their binding energy was higher than that. This was one of the observations. This was for the lower side of the nuclei. Later on, we will find out that these nuclei are more stable. Because they are even nuclei, they are more stable. And another reason, there is something like here, this is more stable because a magic number comes into the picture. Here, there is some magic number, and this is even nuclei. So later on, we will discuss why they are more stable. But they are more stable due to magic number, and they are even type of nuclei. So here, this was first observation. Another observation, second observation was, so first observation to ye ho gayi, they are more stable. Second observation is for the lower side of A, this binding energy per nucleon is increasing. This binding energy per nucleon is increasing, and it is reaching to a peak. It is achieving some maximum. That maximum, it is achieving some maximum, and that maximum value is 8.8 MeV. This value is 8.8 MeV. This is 8.8 MeV, and this is for Fe56. So binding energy per nucleon is increasing with A. It is achieving a maximum for Fe56, and after this, it starts decreasing. This was second observation. Third observation was that for a larger number of nuclei, for example, from 30 to 160, most of the nuclei here in this range, they have binding energy per nuclei. Their average value is roughly 8.5 MeV. Most of the nuclei in this range, their average value of binding energy per nucleon is 8.5 MeV. This was another observation. Okay. And last observation was that after this peak, there is a slope, and binding energy is decreasing continuously, and it will be somewhere here, its value will be 7.6 MeV. In here, its value will be somewhere 7.6 MeV. So basically, it decreases from 8.8, and after this, it will go to 7.6 MeV for higher A values. So these are different observations which are made for the nuclei. We have already discussed what will be the mass of the nuclei. So now, how will you write binding energy? So binding energy will be delta E. So this will be delta M. This will be Z times mass of proton plus A minus Z mass of neutron minus mass of nuclei. So multiply this equation by C square. So here on this side, we will have binding energy. we will have binding energy, and binding energy will be equal to Z times MP plus A minus Z Mn minus mass of nuclei into C square. So this was the expression. And if we divide this binding energy by A, we will have this type of plot. And we have discussed most of the properties associated with this plot. This plot is very important in nuclear fission and fusion. Their basic origin of nuclear fission and fusion, that can be observed from this graph itself. That this graph is one of the most important thing in nuclear physics. Even nuclear fusion, origin of nuclear fusion and fission can be observed from here. Next question is, why this plot has this type of shape? Next is, तो next question क्या आएगा हमारे दिमाग में कि ये जो plot है इसका shape इस type का क्यों है? Why? First this is increasing and then it start decreasing. So at that time scientists gave a simple explanation for this, and the explanation was on the basis of two type of forces. Explanation was on the basis of two type of forces. What they were saying, what these people were saying, that inside this nuclei, protons are there. Inside the nuclei, we have protons, which are positively charged. So in between protons, there will be Coulombian repulsion. There will be Coulombian repulsion. So in between protons, due to their positive charge, there will be a Coulombian repulsion between the protons. And second force, they were considering the surface tension type of force. They were considering some surface tension type of force. Another force they were considering, that was surface tension type of force. They were saying that this nuclei is very similar to the liquid drop. They were saying that this nuclei is very similar to the liquid drop. Now first consider a liquid drop. In general, liquid drop is spherical due to the surface tension which is present in the liquid drop. The shape of a liquid drop is spherical because energy will become minimum. Potential energy will become minimum in case of liquid drop. Due to the presence of surface tension in a liquid drop, its shape is spherical. Suppose this is a liquid drop and there are large number of molecules in it like this. Now there is a general observation that if I want to remove this molecule on the surface, if I want to remove a molecule present on the surface, then this needs less energy. Then you have to provide less energy. This is a general observation. And if you want to remove a molecule from well inside the drop, then you want to remove this molecule, then you need large energy. It's comparable. As compared to this nuclei, you will need large energy. So this is a general observation. They apply the same principle here. They apply the same principle here to explain this increase in binding energy per nucleon. In the first part, binding energy per nucleon is increasing. So to explain this increase in binding energy, they were using this logic. They were saying when A number is small, When A number is small, then number of neutrons and number of protons will be less. When A number is small, then automatically number of protons and number of neutrons will be less, and you will find out that most of the protons and neutrons, they will be on the surface. They will be on the surface because A number is less on this side. On this side, A number is less, then most of the nucleon will be on the surface. And it is easy to remove. You need less energy to remove them. You need less energy. And because you need less energy to remove them, their binding energy is less. Binding energy क्या होती है? Binding energy is the energy that we will provide to the nuclei to remove a particular nucleon. अगर मुझे इस nucleon की binding energy calculate करनी है, this will be the energy. This will be equal to the energy that I will provide to the nuclei so that this nuclei comes out of its clutches. To move out this nuclei from inside, I will provide some energy, and that will be the binding energy, because most of the nucleons are present on the surface, so to remove them from the nuclei is easier. And because it is easier, so automatically binding energy will be less. This was the reason they have given. Now, as we are moving in this direction, we are increasing the size of the nuclei. And at the same time, we are increasing the number of nucleons. Now nucleons will be like this. Now when A number is increased, then nucleons will be like this. Now you can find out few nucleons well inside. Now you can find various nucleons which are well inside, and it is difficult to remove these nucleons. You need larger energy. You need larger energy to remove them. So automatically, overall binding energy of this nuclei will increase as compared to this nuclei. As compared to this nuclei, binding in average value of binding energy per nuclei for this nuclei will be less, and binding energy per nucleon, average value of binding energy per nucleon will be higher for this nuclei. So they explained in this way. So what they were saying, when A number is increasing, number of nucleons is increasing. As a result, more and more nucleons will be well inside. This will increase the binding energy of the nucleon. As a result, binding energy per nucleon will go on increasing. So this increase, they were saying like this, that this increase is due to this phenomenon. This increase is due to this phenomenon. This is one picture. Another picture was, okay, very good. In this way, more and more nucleons are well inside, binding energy per nucleon is increasing. That is okay. This is one picture. Another picture is when A number is increasing. When this A number is increasing, then automatically number of protons will also go on increasing. As A number increases, number of protons will also increase. Okay? When number of protons also increases, then in these number of protons, there will be Coulombian repulsion. When number of protons increases, repulsive force in between these protons will go on increasing. As a result, this repulsive force is increasing, and repulsive force is always a disruptive force. Repulsive force is a disruptive force. It makes nuclei less stable. It means this increase in number of protons decreases the stability due to this repulsive force. So as a result of which, when we are moving in this direction, A number is increasing. Due to this effect, binding energy is in binding energy per nucleon is increasing, but slowly and slowly, this Coulombian interaction, it is becoming important. It is becoming important. And this process goes up to here. Up to this point, this phenomena dominates. Up to this point, this phenomena dominates. But here, after this 56, A value 56, number of protons becomes large. And when they becomes large, repulsive force increase. Disruptive force, it brings disruptive nature. As a result, nuclei becomes less stable. And when it becomes less stable, then its binding energy per nucleon goes on decreasing like this. Your binding energy will go in the decreasing direction. So in this way, they explained this. However, later on, a liquid drop model was developed. And with the help of this liquid drop model, they recreated this graph theoretically. So these two pictures were also present in that model, but there were other pictures were also there. Other forces were also present there. So, but initially they were able to explain this graph with the help of these two type of forces. One is repulsive force, another is surface tension. On the basis of this graph, I can give you how the origin of nuclear fusion and nuclear fission takes place. On the basis of this, I can explain you how nuclear fusion and nuclear fission comes into the picture. First, consider nuclear fission. First, I am considering nuclear fission. Suppose I am here. My nuclei is here. Some nuclei is here. My nuclei is here. And I am assuming, this is not an example, but to explain you. Suppose for this Z number is 200. Suppose Z number is 200, and correspondingly this value will be binding energy per nuclei. Agar aap calculate karo, this will be 7.6. So what will be the, suppose this is X type of nuclei. This is X type of nuclei. So what is the binding energy of X? What is the binding energy of X? कितना होगा बेटा? Binding energy per nucleon पता है और X number पता है. So this will be 200 A number multiplied by binding energy. यहाँ से देख लो बेटा कितनी वैल्यू आएगी. I am assuming this is suppose 7.6 या 7.6 मान लो बेटा. ठीक है? Multiply करो. So this will become 2 into 760. ठीक है? One decimal will go out, and this will be, so this will be 1520 MeV. This will be the binding energy of X type of nuclei. If I decay, if decay takes place like this, if my decay takes place like this, that X decays into two nuclei. One is Y, another is Z. One is Y, another is Z. Then my Y and Z nuclei will be somewhere here. I am assuming that for this A number is 200. For simplicity, I am assuming कि इसका भी A number 100 है और इसका भी A number 100 है. I am just for simplicity, for the calculation. So my A number 100 will be here. ठीक है? अगर मैं vertical line draw करता हूँ, and then I go here, then my binding energy will be somewhere 8.2 or 8.3. So binding energy of Y plus binding energy of Z कितना हो जाएगा बेटा? 100 into, for a Y it will be 100 into कितना 8 point आपने मान लिया, suppose I am assuming 8.2 plus 100 into 8.2. So this will be 16.4 into 100. So this will be 1640 MeV.
अच्छा यार वो
ठीक है, this will be 1640. बहुत ध्यान से देखना, this is an important thing, आपके काम आएगा न्यूमेरिकल सॉल्व करने. So what I am saying कि पेरेंट न्यूक्लियाई का बाइंडिंग एनर्जी इज 1520 MeV and the sum of the binding energy of the daughter nuclei is 1640 MeV. Binding energy is increased in this process. In this reaction, binding energy is increased. And when binding energy is increased, it means whenever in a reaction, whenever binding energy of the daughter nuclei is higher as compared to binding energy of the parent nuclei, this will be corresponding to the energy released. How much energy will be released? That will be equal to 1640 minus 1520 MeV. So this will be 120 MeV. So in this process, if a heavy nuclei decays into nearly two equal nuclei, then binding energy will increase because this parent nuclei was here in the graph. And these daughter nuclei, lighter nuclei, they are here. Binding energy per nucleon is higher. So in this process, binding energy is increased. As a result, energy is released, and this much amount of energy will be released. But can you tell me how I can say that when binding energy is increased, when binding energy will increase, then energy will be released? I am saying this statement. How this is? How can you explain this? मैंने तो लिख दिया, मुझे पता है. What is the meaning of? देखो क्यों रिलीज होगी एनर्जी. देखो, when this nuclei is formed, this much amount of energy is released. When this nuclei is formed, this much amount of energy is released. And when these two nuclei are formed, this much amount is energy will be released. जब ये दोनों न्यूक्लियाई बनेंगे तो इतना एनर्जी रिलीज होगा, और जब ये न्यूक्लियाई बनेगी तो इतना एनर्जी रिलीज होगा. नाउ दिस न्यूक्लियाई इज कन्वर्टिंग इनटू दिस न्यूक्लियाई. तो जब ये कन्वर्ट करेगा बेटा, तो इन दोनों न्यूक्लियाई के कोरस्पॉन्डिंग इतना एनर्जी रिलीज होना चाहिए था. लेकिन जब ये फॉर्म हुआ था तो इतना एनर्जी तो ऑलरेडी रिलीज हो गया. दिस इज ऑलरेडी रिलीज. This is already released. When this nuclei was formed, this was already released energy. When this will convert into this is already released. तो कितना बाकी एनर्जी, टोटल इतना होना चाहिए, इतना पहले से रिलीज हो गया, तो कितना एक्स्ट्रा एनर्जी रिलीज होगा? This will be the difference between these. So this extra energy will be released when this nuclei will convert into this, and this is known as nuclear fission. In nuclear fission, an unstable nuclei decays into two or more nuclei of nearly comparable masses. In two nuclei of comparable masses, apart from this, few particles, neutrons and beta particles, they are also emitted. But in nuclear fission, a heavy nuclei, unstable nuclei decays into two nearly comparable masses nuclei. This is known as nuclear fission. And in this fission, energy will be released. This much amount of energy will be released. But what is more important in this discussion, that whenever in a reaction, binding energy is increased. Binding energy increase means binding energy of the daughter nuclei is higher as compared to the binding energy of the parent nuclei. Then energy will always be released. Energy will always be released. ठीक है, तो ये आपको ये स्टेटमेंट याद रखना है. अगर डॉटर न्यूक्लियाई का बाइंडिंग एनर्जी ज्यादा है एज कंपेयर टू द बाइंडिंग एनर्जी ऑफ पेरेंट न्यूक्लियाई, then energy will be released. Then energy will be released. ठीक है, this is the fission. This is the cause of fission, nuclear fission. और एक जनरल स्टेटमेंट ये है कि अगर बाइंडिंग एनर्जी बेटा ड्यूटर न्यूक्लियाई का कम हो जाए, the binding energy of daughter nuclei is less as compared to binding energy of parent nuclei, then energy will be absorbed. तो इसका उल्टा भी होता है. If binding energy of daughter nuclei is less as compared to the binding energy of parent nuclei, then energy will be absorbed. तो अगर आपको बाइंडिंग एनर्जी दी हुई है पेरेंट और ड्यूटर न्यूक्लियाई की, and he is asking you that okay tell me either energy will be released or it will be absorbed. So that is very simple. पहले बाइंडिंग एनर्जी कैलकुलेट कर लो किसका, पेरेंट न्यूक्लियाई का, फिर बाइंडिंग एनर्जी कैलकुलेट कर लो ड्यूटर न्यूक्लियाई का. तो अगर ड्यूटर न्यूक्लियाई का बाइंडिंग एनर्जी ज्यादा है पेरेंट न्यूक्लियाई से, then energy will be released. And if binding energy of the daughter nuclei is less as compared to binding energy of the parent nuclei, then energy will be absorbed. ठीक है? So this is the general rule you have to remember. So this is the origin of nuclear fission. In next class, I will discuss nuclear fusion. After that, I will give you 3-4 more information, and then I will start liquid drop model. We will also provide you, we have designed 2 assignments related to up to binding energy. Binding energy तक हमने 2 assignment तैयार किए हैं, assignment 1 and 2. ठीक है, we will provide you those 2 assignments. You have to solve those assignments, and later on I will discuss. Later on, when you will say to me that okay, we have solved, sir. We have solved those assignments, 2 assignments yourself. ठीक है? You have to solve those assignments yourself. I am here to help you in solving. If you are facing some type of problem, then I will surely solve that problem. But you have to try yourself. First, you have to try yourself. After this, I will discuss. So you will have I will give you 1 week, roughly 1 week time, and you have to solve these 2 assignments. One assignment is related to the general properties, and the second assignment is on the basis of binding energy itself. So we have designed 2 assignments. You have to solve those. ठीक है बेटा? Thank you very much. Next class में मिलते हैं.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome बेटा.
Thank you, sir.